Okay, uh, so here's a little fun fact that I. Wait, did my face get a little bit fatter since the last time I did? No, I think it's just the haircut. I don't know, or maybe it's the shadows. Well, let's see if I can. I think that just made it worse. Whatever. Um, so in space, smaller things revolve around bigger things. So, for example, let's take this lightsaber that I conveniently had on my back like this because of the little clip here. Um, this would revolve around me. Now, a better example with this, like if I was in space, okay, this would be revolving around me depending on, I suppose, depending on the axis and I think so. Uh, Basically, this would float around me. Okay, um, but a better example is our solar system. Mm-hmm. The sun is bigger than, you know, our planets. So years ago, millions of years ago, I think, yeah, millions of years ago, maybe thousands. I'm not sure. Just years ago, way before I was born, way before you were born, way before technology was invented. Astronomers believed, and I believe Greek astronomers believed that the the sun revolved around the Earth. Obviously, that's not true. Um, the Earth revolves around the sun. That's because the sun has a bigger mass than Earth. So let's pretend like my face is the sun. Okay, so I have my handy dandy phone here. The the Earth would revolve around me. Now, here's a little thing that we probably won't understand for quite a while. Why we're starting to revolve. Actually, let's check this out. Let's fact check that. Welcome to episode 2 of Question Reality. On Twitter. That's not where I want it to be. Why do we revolve? Oops. Revolve around the sun. There we go. Let's see here. Its basic reason why the planets revolve around or orbit the sun is that gravity of the sun keeps them in their orbits. Just as the moon orbits the Earth because of the pull of Earth's gravity, the Earth's orbit of the sun, the Earth orbits the sun because of the pull of the sun's gravity. So, yeah. Now let's see why we spin. Okay, that's just the. Hold on a second. Oh my goodness, who put this here? No, I know who. Lexi. I hate when she's on my account. Why does the Earth, whoops, Earth spin? There we go. The Earth spins because of the way it was formed. Our solar system formed about 4.6 billion years ago when a huge cloud of gas and dust started to collapse under its own gravity. As the cloud collapsed, it started to spin. I believe that is the Big Bang. Let me check that out. What is the Big Bang? I'm not talking about the show The Big Bang, although I do find that actually hilarious. I do find the show hilarious. Yes, I did watch it. I came across it one time, like really late in the season. Um, I found it absolutely hilarious. So, what is the Big Bang Theory? The Big Bang Theory is the leading explanation about how the universe began. As its simplest, it says the universe, as we know, it started with a small singularity, then inflated over the next 13.8 billion years to the cosmos that we know today. This was posted in November 7th, 2017. Um, what is the Big Bang Theory? In short, the Big Bang Theory describing the expansion of our universe from a point of origin roughly 13 point billion years ago. Obviously, a bit longer because this is no, this one is from September 12th, 2019. Okay, 13 point billion years ago. So this hypothetical starting point of everything was an infinite concentration of energy referred to as a singularity. So that's not really the answer that I was looking for. What I thought is that the Big Bang, well, what I've heard, is that the Big Bang was, how do I put this? Let's just put this in a nutshell for you. Let's just say that this fist right here is the universe. All of a sudden, there's just this big explosion, just this random explosion that created everything. Um, created our stars, our universe, our planets, our solar system, and so forth. And that's why the universe keeps on expanding. Now, that sounds more of an atheist theory to me because in the Bible it says God created the universe, but the Big Bang would explain why we are expanding. But the beginning of the Big Bang is something that I probably will never understand, even though that I study astronomy. Yes, I do. I do study astronomy. Not only do I study, not necessarily study, but find out as much as I can on nuclear physics and music, but I also study astronomy. I got into astronomy because of Vsauce. You definitely have heard of Vsauce if you've been on the internet long enough. Um, yeah. So one of the examples that I was going to use was Earth and the Moon orbiting around it. So we have, I believe, 9 planets. I can't remember. How many planets? Oh my goodness. How many planets is the... shoot. How many planets do we have orbiting? Found this on the web. Not giving me a direct answer. Thank you, Siri. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think it's 9. 7, 8. Now Pluto is considered a planet, so we now have 9. What the heck was that? Did you hear that little click? I swear, man, or woman, there is a ghost in my house. My house is haunted. I need to call a priest or something. I need to sanctify this place or something. Anyways, so apparently we have 9 planets in our solar system. So, back to the revolving thing. Why do we revolve? As I said before, because of the mass. But why do we revolve around the sun? Because of mass. Let's see what happens. The force of gravity causes any two objects with mass to attract each other. This means that the sun is also moved a little bit by the Earth. Ooh, we are moving the sun. But the sun has much greater mass, so it seems that the sun is fixed while the Earth is revolving around it. I also saw that the sun in about 7.8 8 billion years will turn into a red giant and consume the Earth. Hopefully nobody is around to have that global catastrophe. Let's see here. What else can we find out about this? I'm not talking about the sun expanding. I'm talking about mass. Why do smaller things evolve around bigger mass? Every object that has a mass obeys the law of universal gravitation. The same gravity that keeps us down on the gravity keeps planets in orbit. However, in space, the smaller object will feel the pull of the larger one much more strongly, which is why it begins to orbit it. As I've mentioned before, like if a phone were to, or the lightsaber that I threw onto my bed, it would revolve around me because I am the bigger mass, and this is the smaller mass. Now, if I were to take let me see here, two even objects. Let me see here, what do I have? Jeez, that's such a variety of stuff. Maybe I can find here. Here's one. Anybody remember this? So let me just put this in my pocket because men's pockets are gigantic. You can fit a whole elephant in it. There's a baseball. Might use that. Let me see here. A Halloween shuriken. I won't use that at all. Like, oh my goodness. My Thomas replica. I'm not exactly sure what that's doing there. I'm just going to put this aside to put it up. I'm not sure what it is doing there. Let's see. Come on, there must be something here. Something in something. Come on. Where is it? Okay, here's another baseball. Aha! Here's what I was looking for. Let's have two fushigis. If you're about as old as me, you'll probably remember these. So anyways, these are the same mass. Now these things are attracted to each other, so they would collide. However, it won't collide in the Earth. It would collide in space. Now, I'm not really sure how long it would take depending on their mass, but they would collide. Maybe 3 days, because this is about the size of a baseball. So if you were to take two baseballs and put them apart, it would take 3 days for them to come together, depending on how far the baseballs are from each other. They could be this far, they could be this far. So basically, the length of how far they're spread out affects the time as well. But the two even masses, would come together and collide. And this was this theory. I had a little slur there. I'm not exactly sure where that came from. There's also some hair in my mouth. There's also this theory that two planets collided, making our planet, and that the moon is a chunk of one of the planets that collided. Now, that seems like very atheist thing, although I don't know enough about that theory to really claim that, But to me, right off the bat, like my first interpretation of that is an atheist theory. Um, Now with the moon thing, that sounds a little plausible, but like I considered that even before I heard of the theory. But I'm thinking to myself like, no, that can't be right. Although the moon is still a mystery to me. Um, Now we're not gonna, you know what? We are gonna research it because that's what question reality is. We need to, we have to question reality. Now we should never. I never question God. Okay, if you're an atheist, you'll probably believe in the Big Bang Theory with all your heart, and that everything came from nothing, which makes no sense to me at all. So let's see here. Did two planets collide to make America better? Did two planets collide to make America better? What? Google, what are you to make the Earth? Via is a hypothesized incident planet in the early solar system that, according to the giant impact hypothesis, collided with Gaia, the early Earth, about 4.5 billion years ago. According to the hypothesis, Dia was an Earth Trojan about the size of Mars, with a diameter of 6,102 kilometers, or 3,792 miles. Now let me see whenever this was updated. It was updated 9 days ago, depending on what day you're watching this. Today is December 16th, Monday. So, my first interpretation is not exactly the most plausible here. So I really don't believe that. I mean, I'll definitely look into it and maybe even make a second episode, like a part 2 of this episode. I don't really know. If I find out more information that sounds a bit more plausible, I might. But if I find more information that's like, no, that is definitely not what happened, kind of thing, I will not do that. So, let's see. What else can we find out about our solar system? Um, hmm. How did our universe come to be? How did our universe form? Okay. How did the universe begin? Life science here. How did the universe come to be? It's perhaps the greatest mystery and the root of all the other humanity's grandest questions. How did life begin? What is conscious? What is dark matter? Dark energy, gravity, stem from it? All other mysteries lie downstream of this question, said Anne Durain, the author and window of astronomer Carl Sagan. It matters to me because I am human and do not like not knowing. Even as theorists attempt to solve this mystery grow increasingly complex, scientists are haunted by the possibility that some of the most critical links in their chain of reasoning are wrong. Yeah, that haunts me as well. Fundamental theories. According to the standard Big Bang model, the universe was born during a period of inflation that began about 13.8 billion years ago. We discussed that just a few minutes ago, years ago, like a rapidly expanding balloon. It swelled from a smaller size than an electron to nearly the current size within a tiny fraction of a second. So let's look up how tiny an electron is. Let me see here. How tiny is an electron? electron. The classical electron radius has a value of 2.82 times 10 to the power of negative 15 m. That's certainly small. Now compare this to the measured radius of a proton, which is 1.11 times 10 to the power of negative 15 m. According to this, an electron has a mile radius 2.5 times larger than a proton. You know what? In the third episode, I'm going to explain what all of that is. But just know that it is super tiny. Like super tiny. Let's see if images will explain it. Let me see here. Yeah, no, I can't find I can't find the results that I'm looking for. Let's see here. Oh yeah, we're going back. Oh shoot, entered the password wrong, which you will never see. Let's see here. Initially, the universe was permitted only by energy, so this energy convoluted, I don't know how to say that, into particles, which assembled into light atoms, like hydrogen and helium. These atoms clumped into the first galaxies, then stars inside whose fiery furnaces all the other elements were forged. This is generally agreed upon picture of our universe origins as depicted by scientists. It is a powerful model that explains many of the things scientists see when they look up in the sky, such as the remarkable smoothness of space-time. On large scales, even the distribution of galaxies on opposite sides of the universe. But there are things about the story that make scientists uneasy. For starters, the idea that the universe underwent a period of rapid inflation early in its history cannot be directly tested, and it relies on the existence of a mysterious form of energy in the universe's beginning that has long since disappeared. Quote, inflation is an extremely powerful theory, and yet we still have no idea what caused inflation or whether it's correct or whether it's even a correct theory, although it works extremely well, said Eric Agel, an astrophysicist at the University of Washington. Oh my goodness, how long is this thing? Pretty gosh dang long. I don't want to make this thing an hour again. But the main question that we had here, that I started off with, is why smaller things revolve around bigger things. And it's all due to gravity. Well, mass and gravity. Ooh, I got one. Is there gravity in space? Now, at first you may say, stupid, there's definitely zero gravity in space. Are you an idiot? But, time for a fact check. Gravity causes every object to pull every other object toward it. Some people think that there is no gravity in space. In fact, a small amount of gravity can be found everywhere in space. Gravity is what holds the moon in orbit around the Earth. This post was made by NASA in 2012. Is there gravity in space, yes or no? Why do astronauts float around in space unless there's no gravity? It sure seems like there is no gravity in space. It's even referred to as zero gravity. I've answered this question before, but it's important enough to revisit the question. The short answer is yes, there is gravity. You're following. in space. Okay. Why is there zero gravity in space? It's a good question, so gravity from Earth keeps the moon and human-made satellites in orbit. It is true that gravity decreases with distance, so it is possible to be far away from a planet or star and feels less gravity, but it doesn't account for the weightless feeling that astronauts experience in space. Does space have a smell? Now that is an interesting question. According to astronauts, they all smell like space. Yes, the floor here is made out of floor. Well, each astronaut smells something a bit different. They all agree that space stinks. Obviously, space is a vacuum, so no one has really smelled it before in the traditional sense of the word. As if, like, if you were to, I looked at a Lego dinosaur and I instantly thought poop smell. So let's just say that you smell poop. Okay, it wouldn't be like that in space. Do planets make sounds in space? Yes, they do, actually. I've watched several videos about planets making sounds. Now you can't hear them in space due to the vacuum in space, but satellites can pick up the vibrations of it. I highly suggest that you take a look at it. It is fascinating and just awesome. What does space smell taste like? Space, three-time spacewalker Thomas Jones has put it, quote, carries a distinct odor of ozone, a faint, acrid smell, unquote. Space Jones elaborated, smells like a little like gunpowder. It is sulfurous. What does space taste like? As in, what does space taste like? In 2009, astronomers were able to identify a chemical called ethyl, formed in a big dust cloud at the center of the Milky Way. Ethyl from it happens to be responsible for the flavor in raspberries. It also smells like rum. Space tastes like raspberries. Delicious. Can astronauts fart in space? I need to see this one. On Earth, farts are typically no big deal. Smelly, harmless, and they quickly dissipate. Some linger, so... But if you're an astronaut, every fart is a ticking time bomb. Oh no. Every fart is a ticking time bomb. The gases in the farts are flammable, which can quickly become a problem in a tiny pressurized capsule in the middle of space where your fart gases have nowhere to go. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can astronauts shower in space? Now that's something interesting. Let's check it out. When astronauts want to take a shower, they step into a cylindrical shower stall and close the door. They then get themselves wet and washed up just like you would on Earth. However, due to the weightlessness, the water droplets and soap don't float downwards into a drain. They float about. So I have a perfect example of this. Let's just say that I got 2 water droplets. This is what it would look like, except a little bit more jiggly, like Jello. Let me just put these back. So, yeah, there is gravity in space. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Question Reality, and I will see you in the next video.